keep the place kind of fresh smelling, you know. This is my wing this the kindergarten and pre-K.
Alan Washington works hard at Luling Elementary.
We take care of 16 rooms.
Making floors sparkle is part of his job, but his joy is seeing children shine.
I have like 3 dreams.
3? Okay, it's good to have more than just one.
Veterinarian.
Veterinarian.
A fashion designer. If that doesn't work out, I would like to do art.
He's a counselor in the hallways.
We are depending on you to get through this school and go out there and do something to contribute something back to help somebody else.
Encouraging children to reach for the stars.
Hey, we're going to do all we can to help you, to be what you want to be.
More than a decade after his world went dark.
Love represents Rachel. Rachel was like the mother hen, really traditional, like I could see her now probably with a house full of kids, married. Learn was Samantha. She was the studious one.
Alan's wife Sandra reads words on the wall of their home that represent the children they lost.
Alan, talented drama, just funny, comedy. And Alandra, lived just because she didn't want to be anything that anybody else was.
The night of February 2nd, 2003, the Washington children were coming home from church. Somehow the car Rachel was driving ended up in the canal along Airline Highway. The 4 children died in 30 feet of murky water.
And then when I went around Airline, I made that turn and come back, and, the fire truck and all that was there. And I said, man, I sure hope nobody not down in there.
And when I saw that state trooper give Alan the nod, when the call was confirmed, I was like, this is really happening. This is really happening.
Parents of 4, childless in an instant.
We got home. I got down on our knees and we prayed. And he said, why can you pray at this time? Boy, we had to pray.
God kept my mind, Nancy. God kept my mind. Wasn't no medication, wasn't no counseling, wasn't, I thank God for the support of the people we had around here, but God kept my mind.
Rooted in their faith, the Washingtons hold their own Bible study every morning, and along the way learned there was still work for them to do, for children and for themselves.
Hey, this is Sandra Washington with YEP of St. Charles, just calling to confirm.
Sandra is program coordinator for the Youth Empowerment Project of St. Charles, a nonprofit agency focused on guiding children toward success.
Mentor young ladies and young men, just kind of provide support for them, try to just help them refocus. Sometimes everybody just needs a little support.
We laugh with Miss Sandra and say, oh, because you think you're everybody's mom. But she does, and part of what makes her so exemplary.
But it took more than mothering skills to become qualified for the position.
It took me 6 years to get my associate's degree. It took me 4 years after that to get my bachelor's degree, all part-time because I was working full-time, and then 3 years to get my master's degree, 13 years.
After she lost her children, Sandra never stopped striving to make them proud. She graduated with her master's in social work from Southern University.
When Miss Sandra was an intern with us around the Christmas holidays, the holidays are a really hard time for them. And she had a number of gift cards, one for each of her children, that she wanted us to give to other children to help make them have a happy holidays.
You know what I give just to have a child a hug right now? And I do. God have blessed me with children, but I'm talking about those children.
Alan can still hear the voice of his baby girl.
When I come in that water, in my mind is that she was calling for me, you know what I mean? And I couldn't help her. That's rough, I'm gonna get off that one and leave that one alone.
They had their faith, but Alan needed another focus to get through the pain. In 2008, he began to work on his associate degree in criminal justice.
It helped me because it kept me busy in my mind. That there took up some time in my mind, and that would really help to move me through without thinking too much.
He went to school part-time for 6 years.
You must feel some proud when you look at that, right?
Boy, I shake when I look at stuff like this here.
He earned his diploma, but being around the children at Luling Elementary is food for his soul.
So they need somebody to help guide them through and to be able to show them other avenues in what they're doing. When you come here to help these children, when you come here in the evening to help them to read to them, that's a sudden positive move there too.
He's a constant presence in the hallway, and so the kids know him and respect him and look to him for advice.
There's folks like Mr. and Mrs. Washington who have decided to just throw their love and their heart and soul into trying to help lift up other children.
I only give her a half a cup because if I give her a whole cup, she don't never finish it. So I only give her a half a cup.
Through the years, the Washingtons worked to raise money for scholarships for deserving students in their children's names. They led a support group for other grieving parents, too. But the pain of 12 years ago seems fresh every time they pass bright crosses on Airline Highway.
When I'm going to work, I had to pass that spot. Tears will fall, me coming up until I get on the other side, and then they'll drive my going to work.
The Washingtons led the fight for 5.5 miles of guardrail along Airline to help prevent other cars from going into the canal. The work was completed in February 2010.
A lot of political backing to get that done, and there's only been like a couple of accidents. There's only been one loss of life.
Her children didn't have a chance to grow up, but now Sandra lends a hand to make growing up easier for others. Ebony Wright's daughter is in the Youth Empowerment Program.
She's just fantastic. I mean, a big help and a lot of effort that she puts in with the kids, and I see a big difference in a lot of things.
You got to be fortified from the inside because life is not always fair.
So the Washingtons go on, year after year.
Holidays are difficult.
Day after day together, reminded of the love they've lost, but strengthened in the goodness in life they've found.
They be proud of us. They were our biggest supporters. They were. They really were. Yeah, so I'll see them again one day.
Nancy Parker, Fox 8 News. The bells of Our Lady of Lourdes survived Katrina.
When the wind was just right, we could hear the bells, and that's probably about 3 miles away.
The sound from the Slidell Church, a symbol of God's power for lifetime parishioner Sean McManus.
Heartwarming.
A reminder of the will of determined people who lost a spiritual home.
This is more than just an empty lot. If it could only talk, right?
That's right, exactly. Yeah, it's a constant reminder of what Katrina did because that's where the church was.
Michael Guidry gives a tour of the lot where the old Our Lady of Lourdes once stood. A beautiful structure.
There was a lot of good memories here. My children went to school here and they were baptized here and went to a lot of school masses here.
Katrina wasn't sentimental. She destroyed the house of worship in one night.
When you drove up to this site after the storm, you saw all that history gone.
Just gone. When I pulled up, that stained glass window was laying out in the parking lot and the roof was gone. It's like someone chopped the top of the church off.
Guidry handles maintenance at Our Lady of Lourdes Church and School.
Half of the roof was upside down in the parking lot. The other half of the roof was on top of the pews.
But this was something he couldn't repair.
And it was particularly devastating to see the church. The church was such a symbol of Slidell.
The school was still standing.
There was mud everywhere. We found turtles and fish in the mud, and it was just really scary.
But Assistant Principal Stephen Nichols saw hope.
People were wondering, oh, we can't go back. There's nothing left. So I was hearing that right and left.
Some people could have just said, I'll just sell my property now and just get out. But not this group. This community was just so tightly knit that they stayed together.
No, we didn't give up. No, we were going to persevere and come back.
Mass was moved into the damaged cafeteria until the church could be rebuilt.
It was, I want to say, a little over $3 million that had to be raised privately through the community, and a lot of sacrifice and dedication to do that.
The church was rededicated in May of 2010, and then the school was in the same year. We came back into the first school year in 2011. And then the gym was a few years later, and then the cafeteria a few years after that.
The new church state-of-the-art and majestic, built down the street on land the church owned. The altar, the bricks in the front, all part of the old Our Lady of Lourdes that surrendered to the wind.
The bell tower was leaning pretty badly, so the bells were taken out of the tower with some effort and retained until we were able to reinstall them at the new church.
It took years for the bells to be restored, but now the sound is one of the last pieces of recovery that helps parishioners move forward.
Once we heard the bells going again, it really rang home true for me.
In Slidell, I'm Nancy Parker. A Marigny Art Studio is where blobs of color meet inspiration.
What excites me about it is the ability to provoke thought. A lot of my work is more than just a pretty picture. It has some type of meaning behind it.
John Moody speaks on canvas.
It's impactful. I can be impactful and also provoke or convey a certain feeling or emotion or something through a piece or painting and affect someone's life.
The 23-year-old perfects each imperfect line.
I like to kind of let the brushstroke kind of have its own control.
He wasn't always certain painting would be his life's work. The St. Aug grad excelled at track and field, but art drew him. He couldn't run away from a need to inspire change.
And it was like a deciding factor to choose between sports and to choose between art.
The athletic high schooler spent half days at NOCA, where drawing as a hobby came into serious focus.
I was just drawing just because it was fun to me, It was something it was just interesting. It was cool, I loved it. But when I got to NOCA, that's when I really started to understand concepts of art.
After a couple of years at UNO, Moody transferred to Savannah College of Art and Design.
But I ran track for SCAD, team captain.
He excelled at the javelin, while he earned a bachelor's degree in visual effects. By the time he'd earned his master's, oil, acrylic, and even spray paint came calling.
The moment I got to SCAD, I knew this was it for me. This is where I needed to be.
When the president of SCAD stepped into his studio during an art exhibit last year, he had his proof.
Paula Wallace, she came in with her secretary, and they were looking at my work, and they thought, well, wow, this would be perfect, because she has a connection with Lee Daniels, the director of Empire. They packaged up one of my large paintings, a painting I did on the Ferguson series, and sent it to him, and he was just very excited. He really loved the painting.
I am so in love with this artist. What's his name?
John Moody.
John Moody, honey. Look at John Moody.
Here's what Empire director Lee Daniels had to say via Instagram.
What a amazing artist. Look at him, John Moody.
In this interview scene on Empire, character Jamal Lyons talks with a reporter at his home.
Of course, anytime. Yeah.
On the walls behind him is Moody's massive painting, part of a series titled Ferguson.
So you're probably waiting. Are they going to call me for another one?
I think about that from time, but like I said, I continue to work.
Doug McCash is an art critic with NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune.
What I think John Moody's paintings provide is that immediate punch, that immediate emotional punch. They're big, they're bright, the colors are bright, and they're faces, they're portraits.
Empire isn't Moody's first brush with stardom. He's painted portraits for Trey Songz, Lil Wayne, and Nicole Murphy. But pieces like this one that speak to societal issues make him especially proud. The piece of a young boy bleeding from violence was featured at the White House in October as part of National Youth Awareness Month.
He told me that he has, political and social intentions with his paintings, everything from police violence to parental responsibility to the objectification of women. He has those sorts of things on his mind.
I was raised by a strong mother, so that's the kind of idea I want to emphasize in this painting.
Moody's mother is a teacher, his father a NASA mechanical engineer.
I have a strong family, and they were a great influence in my life.
He admits he didn't face many of the issues portrayed in his paintings, but he can relate.
I have empathy through a lot of these emotions, and what goes on is a lot of issues that I face, or a lot of issues that my generation faces that I realize.
So as brushstrokes provoke discussion, Moody plays out his purpose in life in paint. Nancy Parker, Fox 8 News.